Welcome to today's IoT People event. Today's event is being recorded. If you do not consent to be part of the recorded event, please disconnect your line. The recording will be uploaded to the IoT People Meetup site. We encourage you to use the meeting chat at any time to ask questions regarding the content. We appreciate your feedback as we use it to improve future events. With that, I believe Thomas will take it from here.
Thank you so much, and welcome to this IoT People event about visualization of data. The event is held together with Blue Fragments and Accobat, and my name is Thomas Martinsen, and I will be your moderator today. For the event today, I have not only one, not two, but three awesome speakers with me. It's Michael from Accobat, another Michael, and then it's Eric from SEC. So big welcome to you all. And also a big welcome to all of our online participants today. It's great to see that we have so many participants that want to hear something about visualization of data. So visualization, in my opinion, is in some cases the crown of the work when working with IoT and with data. And as I believe you'll see throughout the event, then visualization can really make a difference when talking about IoT and data. And that is why Accobat, who are specialists within visualization, will take us through some really amazing discoveries around the possibilities of making stunning dashboards in PowerBI. And I know that they will also share some tips and tricks through some of the learnings that they have done over the years. And so, Michael, I know that these days are a bit different and a bit special compared to what they normally are when we do events, and I know when you do presentations. So how are things in Accobat? Are you all working from home, or are you working from the office, or how are things?
Well, it's kind of it's a difficult situation, I believe, for everybody. But luckily, we have all these electronic devices, so we can utilize when we talk together and when we collaborate. So we have a small amount of people in the office currently, but mainly people are sitting at home working. But I think it's going okay considering the situation.
Yeah. So I think we are looking into a really good event today. I'm really curious about the presentation. So I'm really looking forward to it. The way it works is that in a moment I will give the word to you, Michael, and along the way you're welcome to, all of you participants are welcome to ask questions either directly in the live chat, or you can use Slido to ask questions. Maybe just let me try to share the QR code that you're gonna use. It's right here. Kitty, can you just show that? Oh, I need to share my screen, of course. Here we go. So if you want to ask questions along the way, use the live chat or use slido.com, where you can ask questions. Go. So with that, I will give the word to you, Michael. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, so imagine if everybody did an effort in visualizing their data in the right way, we will all have a more easy every day. So I will explain it in this way. We all know this boarding card that we receive when we go out flying. I know many of you use electronic devices today, but we still get these boarding cards sometimes. And it had always puzzled me why it should be so difficult to read these boarding cards. So I always use a lot of time just figuring out when is the departure time, where do I have to sit, and so on. So imagine if these guys who did these boarding cards actually invested some time in making these boarding cards easier to understand. So imagine if a boarding card looked like this. I'm sure that we all will benefit out of that, and it will be much easier to find out when is the boarding time, what zone do I have to be in, what's the flight number, and so forth. So this is what we are going to talk about today. And just a quick introduction of Accobat. We are a Danish consulting company. We are 40 people, 40 data professional people. We have been working with data for 17 years now in Accobat. We don't do anything else. We just work with data. Our sole purpose is better use of data. This is what we promise our customers, and this is what they need when they interact with us. Our delivery is, and we promise to the customer, is that we will help them do a better business, help them do better utilization of time, and so forth. So this is the result for our customers. We have done a lot of different projects for a lot of different companies. This is some of them. We have around 150 customers that we help every year. We have big projects with several thousands of hours, and we have smaller projects with a small amount of hours. But the whole purpose of what we do is helping customers with better use of data. Today, I have invited some of my good colleagues. The first one is Eric. Eric is a senior consultant at Accobat. He will take you through one of our cases where we have done a case where we have a small train that drives around and collect data from different kind of IoT sensors. He will take you through that. He will take you through how to make a PowerBI dashboard on a technical level. And I also invited my good colleague Michael. He's a manager of our cloud team, and he has a big knowledge of how Asia works. So if you have any questions, he will probably be able to answer some of the questions for you guys. So I will just go through a couple of slides, and then I will ask Eric to actually show how you can make a dashboard in Power BI. So the agenda is about Acrobat. We've just been through that. It wasn't a lot of slides, just a small introduction. And then I will take you through a case we call the IoT train. Eric will take you through the technical setup about that, and then he will also show you how to make a Power BI dashboard. Then after that, I will go through some slides that will give you some education on how to make beautiful dashboards. Now, I know this is not by purpose, but the problem is there's so many ugly dashboards out there. And if you just keep to some simple rules, I'm sure your dashboards will also be beautiful in the future. So this is some slides I will take you through, and then in the last we will have some questions. The first thing is our IoT train. The IoT train case is actually a result of a cooperation between ourselves and a really cool company called SICK. I don't know if you know this company. It's a German company. They do high quality sensors. So I'll actually just start our train. This is, you can see beside me is our IoT train. It's a Brio train. It's a toy train, and it's driving around in this court. And on the way, there's different kind of sensors that actually will generate some stuff in the dashboard. So the train is live now, and it's collecting data through a hub sitting in here, wireless going up to the clouds, and putting into a dashboard. And I'll just show you the dashboard here. So now it's running and collecting data. And what you see is a PowerBI dashboard that is actually collecting data from these sensors going around. So you just saw that the transparency sensor in the bottom, it just went through that with the flag, and it actually made a collection of data, as well as the distance sensor that it just went through. I also have a pressure sensor here, so if I do that, my KPI will change in the top one. So this is just an example on how to use really high quality sensors, easy, and if we can do this with a small toy train, you know, the customers can also do this in their factories and other areas where they find it's valuable. So I'll just go back to the presentation again. Also, this is also a cooperation with Microsoft. All of this stuff is collected up in Azure, and we use Power BI as a visualization tool. It's a really cool tool. You should look into it. And it can easily be used to report on IoT data. So with that said, I will give Erik time to go through how this is actually set up. So, if you want to change the screen.
Okay, I think I've got my slides ready now. Yes, I want to give you a short introduction into how we've set up this little train. If you look at the image at the bottom, you can see that we've got the track on a board and 4 sensors attached to the board on different parts of the track. The first one, the number 1, you see here is the distance sensor. As the train approaches, it should measure the distance shortening as it comes closer to the sensor. The second one is the transparency sensor, which is over here, number 2. And across from it, you have a reflector, and it emits light to the reflector. And as the train passes and the flag blocks the view between the reflector and the sensor, it should reflect it on the dashboard. The number 3 is a metal detector. That is that when the train passes, because it's made out of metal parts, then that also should activate the sensor and send a message to the dashboard. The 4th one is actually a manual sensor. It isn't connected to the train as such, but it's got a pump at the other end. We can't see it right here on the picture, but as you squeeze it, it activates the sensor and should show the amount of pressure applied to it. Now, these 4 sensors are all connected to what we have here at number 5, which is the telematic data collector. This receives signals from the sensors around it and transmits or publishes to an MQTT message broker. So that was like just a high level. Again, schematically, we can see it. We can see that we've got the train, which goes around the track. You've got your sensors, which are activated when the train passes them. This is sent to the TDC telemetric data collector, and this publishes MQTT messages to the Mosquito message broker, which is on a server in the cloud. It's actually running on a Linux server. What we have then is what we call is a Pentaho data integration ETL tool, which collects information from the message broker and passes this information to Power BI live dashboards, and another connection to an Azure SQL database, whereby we have Power BI reports, which also are refreshed with this data, but this is mostly for historical data. And yes, MQTT, just a short introduction. Actually, this is, if you imagine that this is the TDC part, this publishes messages to the MQTT broker. You have different devices. In this case, we have Power BI reports, or we have actually the PDI, which subscribes to the MTT broker and sends the data to the Power BI reports. So it's a question of publishing data and subscribing to data. If we want to see how this data looks when it comes from out of the devices before it reaches the ETL part, we can see that we've got the different sensors in the first column. We've got a timestamp and we've got the values, and we would actually see that there are actually 4 sensors that are actually publishing data, and we are actually subscribing to this data and receiving it. This is what it would look like from a console if you just type in this Mosquito command. What happens for the ETL flow is that these MQTT messages are coming in. This is picked up by the ETL process, goes through a number of transformations, and eventually posts data to the Power BI reports. This is real-time data, and also sends a table output to the SQL database. Now, how do we implement this on the Power BI side? Before you can do this, you have to define some streaming data sets. And this can be done from the Power BI service. As you can see here, we've got 4 different data sets, one for each device or sensor. And the way you do this is you can basically go into the Power BI service and create a new streaming data set. You choose API because it's in this example, we've used a REST API. We basically, you give it a name and enter the fields you would want for this particular data set. If we take an example of one of the sensors, you can see that these would be the fields we would like to store in the data set. As we go along, we will finally get a push URL, which we need later on to put into the ETL process to be able to push this information to the report. Again, in the next step, now that we've got our data set, the next step is to apply it to the dashboard. So what we can do is when we look at a dashboard consists of tiles. And you can either create a new tile or maybe edit a tile. But if we were to create a new tile, we would add a tile. We would choose the streaming data set that we would like to assign to this tile. That is the one we've just created before. For example, if we had created this one, we would then add that one to the tile. We would choose the visualization type, and this can be a card, line chart, clustered bar chart, clustered column chart, or a gauge. And then we would add a name to the tile, and that would actually add maybe a few other features, but for the moment, this would be fine. And that would actually be it. If I'm able to show you, I would like to show you, just before I leave this part, I could probably show you this. So what we have here, it'll clear up, is actually the real-time dashboard. As we can see, the train may be still moving around the track as these devices look to be active. And yeah, it's quite interesting to see. The other dashboard we have, well, not a dashboard, the other report I mentioned, if I can bring this up. Is this one. This is not completely real time. It's being periodically updated. With we can see the train speed, which we've derived from the train passing the sensors. And yeah, we've added some sensor information, sensor specifications. You can see that by choosing different sensors, you can see the different values attached to them. I think I'll leave this for now. And I think we'll try to get Michael back for the next presentation.
Cool. So thank you, Eric. I believe one of the most impressive things about this presentation is that Eric is actually French, and I believe he's the only French person speaking with a UK accent. So that was actually pretty good. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to do some education on how to make beautiful visualizations that is to be understood. So hopefully after these couple of slides, you will not be one of them making ugly dashboards. So dashboards is like a joke. If you need to explain the dashboards afterwards, it hasn't really been a good joke or a good dashboard. So you need to do these dashboards with certain rules in order for them to be explainable, self-explainable, and also to interact with the human brain. So by that, I will just make a small business case on this one. So let's say we know that the difference between reading a table and a data visualization is around 15 to 23 seconds. So it's 15 to 23 seconds faster to read a data visualization than reading a data table. So if you have 50 employees in your company and they must take 10 data-driven decisions every day, a quick calculation shows that you will actually waste 600 hours per year. So that's an easy part of the business case. There's also the other side that is easier to do right data-driven decisions if you get the results fast and the right result also. And I will just explain you why we have these difficulties, and we call it the goldfish effect. So research shows that we actually have a smaller concentration time that a goldfish have. So the humans have 8 seconds, and goldfish seems to have 9 seconds. I'm not quite sure how they measure this, but let's say this is true. So when we do these data visualizations, we actually need to have them be understood under 8 seconds. And I'll just give you a small test about this and show you what I mean. So be ready for a small test. Okay, so this is a test. When I show you the next slide, you need to figure out what month this year we had the highest revenue. What month this year we had the highest revenue, and you will get 8 seconds for that. So we will start now. So that was 8 seconds. So if you know this, what month we are talking about, you can put it in the chat, or you can keep it to yourself. But now I will show you the same numbers, just put into a data visualization, and I will ask you the same question, and you need to tell me if it's easier or more difficult to find the answer on this question. So again, the question is, what is the month? Which months do we have the highest revenue this year? And you will get 8 seconds for that as well. And now. And now. So hopefully I've proven what I said. It is much easier to find out what month that has the highest revenue in a visualization like this compared to this. So of course here we can see that this month is the blue column, and the September is the column with the highest revenue. So it's easy to figure it out. The mind reads it more easily than the table. Another thing you need to think about is that when you do your presentations, you need to have a data storytelling approach. So if you just show statistics, only 5% will remember your statistics. But if you present it in a story, 60 60% will recall your story. So let me give you an example on what I mean. So this is a pretty good example on a production timeline for a clothing company. They put it into a story. Instead of just showing some statistics, they actually put it into a timeline story. So they say, okay, we will start the first 3 or 4 weeks we will use to find the perfect factory. Then we will use 2 weeks to design your clothes. And then we will use 1 week to create samples and getting feedbacks. And then 2 weeks again, we're creating final samples. And then when that is approved, then we have between 9 and 15 weeks, 6 weeks, where we do the production. And then there's 1 week of transport, and then we are finished. So in 16 weeks, we can actually do your closing for you. That's a really good storyline. People will remember that. Another thing you need to figure out is how to use colors. So I see so many dashboards every day that has too many colors. If you use colors on your dashboards, it has to have a purpose. So I will show you an example. This is you need to tell me how many triangles you see in this one. You can of course count it, but it's a little bit difficult. If I use colors, it is much easier to count it. But then again, when you use colors with a contrast. Why is that? Because many of us are actually partly or colorblind. So if you don't use colors with significant contrast, you will have a result for people with color blindness like this, which can be difficult to actually see the difference between the colors. So use contrast in your colors when you do your dashboards. I will now show you an example how not to use colors. This is something I found on the internet. First of all, I don't believe it's very beautiful. Secondly, all these colors, it doesn't have any purpose. It's just a matter of somebody who thinks this is nice to have blue, green, yellow colors in your dashboard, but they don't have any purpose. Don't use the colors if it doesn't have any purpose. What kind of charts should you use? Actually, there is a theoretical approach to that. We have done this chart suggester. So certain charts are good at certain things. And if you have this kind of suggester, it's easier to pick the right graph for what you want to explain. So figure out what you want to explain, choose the right graph, and show it in that one. Then I have these ones. Okay, we have 6 things that you need to remember. When you do your dashboard, avoid information overload. The human brain can cope around 6 to 8 KPIs on one page. So don't put 20 KPIs on one page, you will have information overload. Secondly, focus. In the Western world, we read from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom. So put your most important KPIs in your top left part of your KPIs, because this is where the eye will always start. Don't put your logo there. Don't put something that doesn't make sense or picture or anything. Put your most valuable KPI in the top left corner of your visualization. Then after that, put explanations on these KPIs next to this one. The second most important, put that underneath the first one and put explanations, visualizations to that one next to that. This makes sense. Colors, we have talked about that. Speak the same language, very important. Things like master data, things like be sure that if you measure something about customers, have a common understanding what a customer is. You will be surprised how many companies that hasn't used time and effort to find a common approach on what they understand a customer is. Is a customer one that goes into a shop? Is the customer one that actually buys something, and so on? The next one, that's one of the most important one. Always have one version of the truth. Don't have a lot of data sets with the same data. Make a data warehouse or approach where you only have one place to go if you need the truth about some data. I've been in so many meetings where the first half or whole hour was used to talk about which numbers are the right ones. We don't need that one. Storytelling. Prepare good storytelling when you present your data. That way it will be easier to understand, and it will also be easier for people to remember. And choose the right graph for the purpose of your visualization. If you remember these six things, I'm sure you will make really nice dashboards. Spreadsheet symptom. I don't know if you have tried this. I believe many of us have. We have a problem, the solution, do something in a spreadsheet. We create a bigger solution, we do a bigger spreadsheet, and then we go back again and make a new spreadsheet. Don't do that. Do in the right way, do a visualization in a dashboard and use a proper tool for that. Don't use spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are really nice tools, but mainly for ad hoc reporting and analysis. I have an example here. This is a typical spreadsheet made from a controller or finance people. It might make sense for these guys, but for 80% or 90% of the rest of the company, this is boring and is not easy to understand. So you need to be a really good controller to actually understand these kind of spreadsheets. So I've taken this spreadsheet and I made it into a visualization, which I believe will be more suitable for 80% or 90% of the company. This is the same data shown in a sales dashboard. So in this sense, in this way, we can easily see that we had a really good month in March. April was not as good as last year. We can see the trend. We can see how we managed accordingly to the budget. We can see how many jeans we are selling. We can see which countries are doing well and which are not doing well. To be honest, it is very difficult to actually have the overview in this one. So I hope I make sense in what I'm saying. So with that said, 40 minutes have gone, and there should be time for some questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Really great. I learned some things along the way, so that's really nice. We have received some questions, which is really good. Keep the questions coming. Use the QR code to scan and access Slido, where it's really easy for you to ask questions. So, Michael, the first question I have here is something related to some of the guidelines that you had around using colors and how to show data. So what are the optimal amount of colors to use now that we are all partly colorblind, as you mentioned?
Well,
do you have some guidelines on that?
Yeah, I think you should use as less colors as possible. and also, if you want to actually help the colorblind people, actually green and red are not that good for colorblind people. So if you do some sort of traffic lights, you probably should use other colors than green and red, because in a colorblind brain, these two colors would be similar. So I would say use the colors if it makes sense. Use as less color as you can, because it will give a more a nice way for your eyes to relax on.
Okay, cool. And then maybe a little technical question. So it comes down to your experience with the quality and the precision of the different type of sensors. Now you said here that in your train you had, was it 2 or 3 different sensors that Eric presented? So what are your experience with the precision of the sensors?
Well, to be honest, the precision is of course important, but we rely really much on SIG, who is doing these sensors and also implement them in the factories to do that. So I don't have a lot of experience with that one. I only have it with our train. I also believe it's something about the quality of the sensors. There's a lot of cheap sensors out there on Wish and nice places. Our experience with these cool sensors from SIG is that they are in the high end. They are high quality German produced sensors. We don't experience that they doesn't work. So this is and these are the only sensors that we actually have experience with. So I will encourage everybody to go into SIG's homepage and look. They have sensors for everything. It's amazing, and to be honest, they are not that expensive. So don't be cheap.
Okay, and let's try to go into a little bit about Power BI. So you presented some dashboards in Power BI, and I know that historically there have been some challenges regarding what are the licenses in Power BI. And one of the questions that we have received is the live data in Power BI standard in Power BI, or do you need to pay per data usage?
Okay, so Power BI, it doesn't. You can use Power BI. Power BI doesn't have a lot of different kind of license. They actually have a pro license. It's I think it's $10 per month per user. You can buy one user if you want, and then they have some what they call premium kind of license. So you can buy like capacity if you have a larger company, you don't want to have you pay per use, you can actually buy a capacity you can use in the company. And one of the things that we actually use a lot is embedded license. Is a capacity, but they have a limit on you can not use the app and so on, but you can put it into your homepage and you can show it to everybody. And it's a really cheap way of doing your dashboards. But on the data part, on how you actually transfer data into Azure, there is a cost, but it's second to none. Of course, if you want to storage your IoT data, we all know that IoT data generate a lot of data, and if you want to storage that, you have to pay for the storage. The storage is also pretty cheap, like everywhere else. But of course, and you can choose different kind of cold storage or hot storage or whatever. But it costs something to store it. But many IoT dashboards just want to show the streaming, and it's not something that that is very expensive. I believe that Microsoft has done a really good job of pricing Power BI compared to the competitors. And then another thing is also you don't need hardware. You just pay $10 per month, and then you have all the hardware in the cloud.
Okay, let's continue to stay in Power BI. So what are your biggest challenges of getting data from the IoT devices and choosing the most important data from the data set coming from the devices?
I think maybe Eric should elaborate a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, in the examples we have, when it comes to the streaming data, we just collect data as it as it comes in. We don't really I mean, I think the most important part for us with these sensors is simply to detect some change. So shall we say, I suppose the quality is important to some degree, but the train, when it goes around the track is not very precise. I mean, there is a lot of sometimes the track moves around a little bit. So it's yeah. I think when you speak about the importance of data, I think we're just basically looking that we receive something. We don't use it as to any specific anything specific afterwards. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, fine. So let's actually stay in the data and Power BI. So we have a question here from Jacob saying regarding SQL operations and relations between tables. So is it better done in the data source before making a data set definition in Power BI, or can you make it, or can you do it in the data set definition in Power BI?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as I work a lot designing data warehouses and data marts, and I certainly prefer to do as much as the work in the database before putting it up into Power BI. And I would prefer, I would do everything in Power BI that I couldn't do on the database, but I would certainly choose the database first, because if your model is efficient on the database and it's easy to handle, then it will be much easier once you get that model into Power BI.
And Niet also got a question saying, right now I have a customer that wants to transfer his Excel sheet one-to-one into Power BI. So it's got 28 columns beside each other. The customer doesn't want graphs. What is the better solution here?
To be honest, Power BI out of the box is not that great for tables, but there is some custom visualizations that you can acquire that is doing great stuff for tables. You want these kind of visualizations that I show you, this spreadsheet kind of things, you should probably acquire one of these custom visualizations for that. There is a matrix, a table matrix you can use inside Power BI, but Power BI is mainly for doing data visualizations and not for doing spreadsheets.
Yeah, but I guess since more than half of the world's business logic and data is stored inside Excel, this is actually a really relevant question. So yeah, good one. Final question that I have here, and that will most likely, either go to you, Michael, or your colleague, Michael. So what are your biggest challenges when it comes to the integration between the different Azure services that are available and Power BI? So any pain points that you wanna share about getting data from the Azure services?
Well, actually, it's not the bigger problem getting data from Azure services. It's more a question of getting many. We still get typical is that's the biggest issue, because if you need to have data from on premise, you need to have some sort of gateway or something, or open firewall or whatever to get the data up in Azure. If you want to have data from other Azure services, you should be okay. There should be the right connectors for you to get these kind of data. But I just want to have a small comment to your what you said before, Thomas, that a lot of data is stored in Excel. Don't ever store data in Excel.
Oh yes.
That's rule number one. Always store data in a database. Use Excel for ad hoc analysis. Don't never store data in Excel.
Got it. Okay. All right. So with that, I actually think that we are through all of the questions. Really great. I think you have something you want to share, Michael?
Sure. Just as a free giveaway, and if you really are looking into not making ugly dashboards, go and download our free ebook on data visualization. We have an English version that is a bit older than the Danish version, but we will catch up very soon. Otherwise, download the Danish version if you can read Danish. It's really good reading. It's not a lot of pages. If you read that, I'm sure you will be better off when you do your next dashboard. So it's a good investment. It takes you maybe half an hour to read it or less, and it will probably be the best investment you have made if you do dashboard. So the link is in this presentation, and you can use this link when you get the presentation, or you can also go in on our homepage and find it, and maybe also Thomas will send it out in the email later or whatever. But this is a good free ebook.
Really cool. That is a really good giveaway. So thank you for that, Michael. Yeah, just let me share my screen here. So as mentioned, the slides will be shared after the event, so that everybody will have your really good slides. Whoops. Just let me make sure it doesn't fly. Okay. So with that, I want to say a big thank you for the presentation. That was really good. As mentioned before, I learned something. So really nice. And a big thank you to all of our participants. That is really great to see so many joining our event here. So we actually already have our next event lineup, and that was what I tried to share some info about here. That would go. So our next event will be called IoT Do It Yourself, or DIY. It will be on February 23rd at 10. And you can go into iopeople.dk to sign up already. So with that, I want to say again, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you for participating. and I wish you all a really great day.